name is Sergeant Major Branch. It is indeed a privilege, an honor, and I'm very humbled to be here at this event today. This is long overdue, and I'm really surprised that we don't have more veterans here today partaking in this. It is up to us that have gone on before to continue the message to our younger generation. You'll be surprised how many of the younger people today have little or no knowledge of what happened 40, 50, 60 years ago, especially when it comes to the black veterans, not just Marines. I'm going to speak briefly a little bit of my experience as a Marine, as a black Marine in the United States Marine Corps. The earlier speaker have already talked to you about how it was for the Montford Marines. I'm not a Montford Marine. I'm on the cutting edge of the integration of the military. I joined the military Marine Corps in 1951. That was just a few years after the integration. In 1951, right out of high school, 17 years old, joined the Marine Corps. I didn't have much of a choice. I was born and raised on the East Coast, Columbia, South Carolina, which at that time was really a segregated, which is not completely integrated now, but it was worse then. So there was really no future that I could see for a black individual. But as I mentioned, this was the cutting edge of the integration. Now, I went through basic training. Excuse me. I went through basic training in Paris Island. I thought it would be a little better, but when I got to Paris Island, I was in a platoon of 40 recruits. Only 3 was black. So we were targets. We basically was assigned every duty that was unpopular. I just put it that way. I can't use the words I want to use, but was unpopular because we were black. After basic training, I was assigned or transferred to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Coming out of basic training, we were given, or we was asked, 3 different MOS fields that we would like to go in. Well, my first choice was combat engineering. My second choice was, believe it or not, I wanted to be in the infantry for some crazy reason. And the third choice was a radio operator. Well, I got the second choice. I was sent to the 8th Marines in Camp Lejeune. Upon completion of my advanced training, this was in the latter part of 1951, I was sent to Camp Pendleton. This was in preparation for Korea. We spent basically a very short time doing combat training. After the training at Camp Pendleton, we were boarded ship, San Diego, headed for Korea. But it took like 30, 45 days by ship. We landed in Korea, right off the ship, replaced with the 7th Marines. We went up to Pork Chop Hill. Pork Chop Hill was the extent of Korea for me. It was winding down, but there still was furious fighting in Pork Chop Hill. Pork Chop Hill was where I was wounded, and I was awarded the Silver Star. The reason that I was awarded the Silver Star, I literally carried 2 Marines after we was hit by mortar fire to safety. I spent basically 3 months or more at the Naval Hospital in Yokosuka, thinking that, okay, when I get out of here, I'll be going back to the States. Wrong. I was sent back to Korea. But at this point, the fighting was basically over. Now, one of the reasons that I brought up Pork Chop was my experience. There was prejudice in Korea. I was assigned to a company, and again, there was only 3, 4 African Americans. I had a staff sergeant, and this staff sergeant was in charge of the platoon. And he made a statement, and this is the words that he used. He said, "I am not going into battle with a black Marine." Well, of course, he didn't get any disciplinary action because that was unheard of. However, later, he was one of the people that I saved when we got hit by mortar fire. After that, we became good friends. See, the prejudice in Korea, I would say, was just as strong as it was back in the States, depending on who you talk to or who you were with. After my tour in Korea, came back to the States, and I decided that I didn't want to be an infantry person anymore. I didn't want to go out and fight no wars anymore. But I did something that was just as bad. I joined the 2nd Force Recon. And when I talked to some of the people that I knew, they would say, "Why would you want to go into an outfit where you jump out of perfectly good aircraft?" I wanted to challenge. I spent about a year and a half in Force Recon, and that was not my bag. I decided I wanted to go into admin. So I went into admin, and by this time I was in the process of being promoted to gunnery sergeant, which was really fast. This was in the early 60s. My first assignment after admin school was Headquarters Marine Corps. That was another place I regretted. Headquarters Marine Corps was spit and polish. You all know, anybody that been there, spit and polish every day inspections. Down the hallway from my office was Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. That was no joke. Stayed there for a while, and every month or every couple of weeks, I was in the career advisor's office trying to get a new assignment. Finally, I did. I went to the Lamb Battalion, which is the anti-aircraft missile battalion, which was in 29 Palms, California. Another place that I really hated. That was in 1965. In 1965, the early part of 1965, the whole battalion got orders to go to Vietnam. We were the first waves of 65 that went to Vietnam. Going to Vietnam, our duty, our mission was to defend the airfield, which was Da Nang. We was up on Monkey Mountain. We were there when that airfield was bombed. Shortly after that, I was reassigned, came back to the States. I said, okay, I'll get out of being in the Lamb Battalion. However, I was up for Sergeant Major. And the only way that they were going to make me a Sergeant Major was that I had to agree to stay in Yuma, Arizona. That was okay. I didn't have a choice. I didn't want to go back to 29 Palms. I didn't want to go back to headquarters Marine Corps. So it was the less of two evils. Being in Yuma, Arizona was really great. I got to really get acclimated to the weather, etc. And a very good friend of mine by the name of General Frank Peterson. He came to visit Yuma. And I said, I know this guy from somewhere. He came up to me and he says, wasn't you in Korea? We were in Korea at the same time. Of course, then he was a first lieutenant and I was a corporal, private. So anyway, he says, why haven't you made a Sergeant Major? I have no idea. A few months later, orders went down from headquarters Marine Corps, and I was assigned as the base sergeant major for So sometimes it pays to know the right people. I stayed there until I retired in 1981. Now, there's a lot more that I can tell you about my career, but I want to talk a little bit about why I went into the Marine Corps. I was encouraged and inspired by my late uncle, Frederick Branch. As you all know, he got promoted to captain before he decided that he was going to get out. And the reason for that, he was a hardcore guy in a way. Things was not going the way that he wanted them to go or he expected them to go. And he decided that he would get out and go back into teaching and doing his civilian thing. So that was one of the reasons. I am the second generation of Marines in the Branch family. Frederick Branch was the first. I'm the second generation. Currently, I have a granddaughter that's in the Marine Corps in Miramar, and she will be the third generation Marine. So this is a great chance. The other reason that I went into the Marine Corps was to find a better life, to better myself, and to help my family who were still living in South Carolina. After so many years, I don't say I think, I know I did the right thing by going into the Marine Corps. I learned a lot. The Marine Corps has been good to me. I was able to attend college while I was on active duty, went to school at night, went to Old Dominion University in Virginia, and came out with a bachelor's degree in constructional engineering. Later, I was able to go on to become a counselor for the Veteran Administration. This all happened from what I learned through the Marine Corps. Now, when I first went into the Marine Corps and was really into a whole situation and seeing how things was going, there was three things that I really wanted to be while I was in the Marine Corps. The first thing I wanted to be was a sergeant major. Because a sergeant major walk on water. That's what I was told when I got there. And later I found out that was true. The second thing that I wanted to be was a drill instructor. And the reason was to motivate the younger Marines that was coming in. The third thing was to be a spiritual inspiration for all of the young men. Well, I accomplished two of them, and I would say 2 out of 3 not bad. I'll let you figure out the one that I didn't make. And it was not the drill instructor, all right? My career, as I said, has been very good. And I'm still active with the recruiters in Fairfield, California. I try to attend as many graduations as I possibly can down in San Diego. Recently went down for a graduation for the recruiter school. And it does me a lot of good to see so many African Americans that has advanced and are still advancing. In 1977, if my count is correct, there was only 12 or 13 African Americans sergeant majors in the Marine Corps. That's the entire Marine Corps. Now, we have sergeant majors in almost every training battalion, et cetera, but it was a long time coming. We've even had, as you all should know, sergeant majors in the Marine Corps. We've had three African Americans, and that's as high as you can go. If they had not kicked me out after 30 years, that was my next goal. But after 30 years, they didn't kick me out. And after 30 years, I couldn't go anymore. I had to come on out. So that's kind of a little bit of who I am and what I'm doing. But in closing, it's a great honor to have served with so many African Americans. That was the trailblazers for all of us. I served with General Frank Peterson in Korea. I served with Sergeant Major Huff. I served with Sergeant Major Hashmark Johnson. So, those are my heroes. This gentleman here, I owe it all to him and the people that served with him. Had it not been for him, and those that he went through in the 40s, I would not be sitting here today. And I'm thankful to the Montford Point Marines, to all of the Montford Point Marines, that made the sacrifices, the perseverance in paving the way for all Americans, all African Americans, past, present, and future. So I say, thank you for your time and listening to me ramble on and tell you a little bit of my story. And the last thing I would like to say is, may God continue to bless the Montford Point Marines, this organization that's pushing this to continue for all veterans and all men and women that's now serving in the United States Armed Forces. Thank you very much.